So before you walk into a model home in Livingston Parish, I want you to understand something that most buyers do not realize until after they've signed the contract. The builder's representative that you're going to be dealing with in there is going to be very friendly. They're going to be very professional, and they'll probably answer every question that you ask. But unless you have a written agreement clearly saying otherwise, you don't want to assume that the person inside that model home truly is representing you, that they have a fiduciary responsibility, I guess you could say. Their job is to sell that home in that subdivision under the builder's process with the builder's contract package and that builder's incentives. And that is why some buyers can get in trouble, not all, but some. They fall in love with a floor plan, right? They hear about the interest rate buy down. They see the closing cost assistance and they think, man, this makes a whole lot of sense. And then later, sometimes weeks, maybe months later, they start discovering what they didn't know to ask. So just a few questions. So what happens if the timeline slips? What happens if the rate lock expires? What happens if during the inspection they find HVAC issues, roofing issues, electrical issues? What happens if something breaks after closing and the builder doesn't maybe respond in the maybe correct manner that you would think they would? And maybe the biggest, what did you actually sign in that contract, that builder's contract? So this is what this video is all about. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through 5 truths about buying new construction in Livingston Parish that most buyers really never hear inside the model home. And it's not because every builder is bad. They're not. It's because a model home conversation is a sales conversation. And a sales conversation is not the same thing as having someone, a professional, inside your corner. So this is part 3 of my 5-part series on buying new construction in Livingston Parish. Part 1 and 2 should be in the description below or in the comments below. If they're not, please let me know. Now let's get into what most buyers don't find out until it's too late. If you're looking at new construction in Livingston Parish right now, you're probably feeling one of 2 things, right? You're either super excited, maybe the floor plan looks great, the price seems reasonable, the builder's offering incentives that really make your numbers work, or maybe you're cautious. Maybe you've heard some horror stories. Maybe you know someone that's had a bad experience and you're trying to figure out what you don't know before you walk through the model home door. Either way, you're probably dealing with some version of those questions right now. So how do you know if the builder's incentive is actually a really good deal? Or is it just maybe a marketing number? What happens if something goes wrong after you close and the builder pushes back? How do you know the home is being built correctly if you're not watching it go up every day, right? And what is actually in the contract, and is that negotiable? And if the timeline slips, what are your options? Those are the right questions. And the fact that you're asking them means you're already thinking about this more carefully than a lot of buyers do. So truth number 1, the contract is not what you think it is. There's a false belief out there. The paperwork is just standard stuff. And here's what most buyers don't understand. The contract package you sign with a builder may not be the same standard Louisiana purchase agreement you've used before. In some cases, actually probably most cases, you may see this Louisiana residential agreement to buy or sell, a new construction addendum, and a builder addendum, or a builder-specific contract package. The point is really simple. Do not assume that every builder contract is the same. In many cases, it includes builder-specific language, addendas, timelines, warranty procedures, deposit terms, financing terms, change order rules, and protections built around the builder's process. Now, inside that paperwork, there may be language covering like construction timeline delays, change order pricing, design selection deadlines, deposit forfeiture terms, financing requirements, warranty procedures, and what happens if the deal falls apart. Much of that language may be written in a way that protects the builder's timeline, their process, and their business model. It doesn't really mean it makes it unfair, right? But it does mean you need to understand it before you sign it. You need to understand the design selection deadlines, so that alone catches a lot of buyers off guard. The contract may include, a date by which you must finalize your finishes, like your flooring, your cabinets, your countertops, your fixtures. You miss one of these deadlines and the builder may have right to make certain changes for you, delay the build, charge additional fees, or handle issues according to the terms of that specific contract. So that's the kind of details buyers often do not think about when they're standing in a beautiful model home. So you don't want to skim through the builder's contract. You don't want to assume that it's standard, right? You don't want to assume that it works just like every other Louisiana purchase agreement. And don't just sign it because, of course, I mean, this is obvious. Don't just sign it because the floor plan feels right, right? So that is the moment when having someone in your corner who has seen these things before can make all the difference. So truth number two is the incentives have strings attached. So there's a false belief out there that the builder's offer is free money. So yes, builders' incentives are real. Rate buy downs are real. Closing cost assistance real. Free upgrades, appliance packages, the design center credits all these things can obviously save you money. I'm not here to say any of that's fake at all, but here's what most people miss, or many people miss. Many builders have preferred lenders, and some larger builders have lending relationships tied directly to the sales process. So when they offer you an incentive tied to using that preferred lender, that's not really charity. That's a business alignment. Now, that doesn't mean it's automatically a bad deal. To be honest with you, most of the time it's still a good deal. Sometimes a builder's lender really is the best option, but sometimes a competing lender may put you in a better position over the life of the loan, even without the incentive. The only way to know this is to compare the full picture. Look at your base price, interest rates, loan fees, discount points, closing costs, rate lock terms, monthly payment, cash to close, and the total cost over time. So here's the one buyers miss all the time. If your builder takes longer than expected, what happens to your rate lock? In Louisiana, timelines can shift all the time. Weather delays happen, permit reviews can take time, supply chain issues can slow things down sometimes, loan schedules can move. So if your rate lock expires before the home is finished, you could be closing at a different rate than the one you thought you had. So ask this question in writing. What happens to my rate lock if the builder's timeline gets extended? That question matters, okay? So here's the watch out here. An incentive is only as good as the deal underneath. A $10,000 incentive tied to a high base price, higher fees, discount points, or a rate that expires before closing may not be the win that it looks like on the surface. So always compare the full deal. Truth number three is there's a warranty law out there that most buyers have never heard of. There's a false belief that is, if something breaks, I'll just call the builder. So Louisiana law has called this a new home warranty act. Most buyers who choose construction in Louisiana or Livingston Parish has never even heard of it, and it actually can affect your rights if something goes wrong. Now, I'm not an attorney by any means. This is not legal advice, but if you have a serious construction defect, a warranty dispute, or a builder who is not responding, you surely want to speak to a qualified attorney. But as a buyer, you need to know this law exists because it may control how your claim is handled. So under the Louisiana New Home Warranty Act, there are generally different warranty periods for different types of issues. For example, 1 year for certain defects related to building standards, materials, workmanship, 2 years for certain plumbing, electrical, heating, cooling, and ventilating system defects, and 5 years for certain major structural defects. So those are real protections, but they are subject to exclusions, definitions, and time limits. And here's where buyers can get themselves in trouble. The law has a strict notice requirement, okay? If you discover a defect, the law says the owner shall give the builder written notice by registered or certified mail within 1 year after knowledge of the defect, before undertaking repairs or filing an action for breach of warranty. So it's not just a phone call. It's not just a text message. It's not just letting the superintendent know that may be still on site if they're still building homes. It says registered or certified mail. So that written notice needs to advise the builder of the defect and give the builder reasonable opportunity to respond. And the clock is tied to when you had knowledge of the defect, not when you finally decided to, do something about it. So this matters. So there's also another point. Do not rush into a non-emergency repair before giving proper notice. If a homeowner fails to give proper notice or makes repairs before the builder has been notified and been given a reasonable opportunity to respond, that can create problems with recovery, okay? Let's use common sense on this. If there's an emergency, active water damage, a safety hazard, or something that could cause you more damage, of course you need to act on that responsibly. Document everything immediately, take photos, take videos, save your receipts, save communications, and if it's serious, you may want to call an attorney. So here's the watch out in all this. If you discover an issue in your new construction home, document it the same day. Take photos, take videos, write down the date you discovered it, save every message, then send proper written notice to the builder by registered or certified mail before making any non-emergency repairs. That one step could protect your rights under Louisiana law. Most buyers don't know this. Now, of course, you do. So truth number 4 would be brand new does not mean perfect, of course. So the false belief is it's brand new. What could go wrong, right? Construction is complicated. It involves dozens of subcontractors, multiple inspections, materials from different suppliers, and work performed under weather, of course. Things can get missed, and most of the times things do get missed. So even with good builders, even with good crews, even on homes that look beautiful, I have personally seen brand new homes in the Greater Baton Rouge area, of course, the Livingston Parish area, come back from independent inspections with grading issues, draining issues, improper HVAC installation, electrical deficiencies, roof concerns, plumbing issues, workmanship problems. And some of those homes had already passed the builder's walkthrough. So the builder's walkthrough is just done through the builder's process, okay? Their job is to confirm that the home meets the builder's standard and a punch list is completed. An independent inspector's job is to look at the home from the buyer's side and identify issues before you close. Those are not the same thing. They're never the same thing. Also, make sure your inspector is properly licensed in Louisiana. Don't just grab the cheapest person you can find. You want someone thorough, someone who knows construction, someone who can look at drainage, look at HVAC, look at roofing, electrical, plumbing, attic areas, grading issues, and other things that buyers usually miss. So here's the watch out in all this. Always hire an independent licensed home inspector before you close on new construction. The cost is usually a few $100s when it can save you potentially thousands. Again, brand new doesn't mean problem-free. Truth number 5 is this. The timeline is built in the builder's favor. The false belief is when they say 6 months or 3 months or whatever it may be, depending on your process, they mean 6 months. So when they miss the timeline, look, that doesn't mean that the builder is doing anything wrong. It means you need to understand the timeline language before you sign. Louisiana's weather can slow the exterior work down. Heavy rain can delay grading, foundation work, roofing, driveways, sod, drainage. Storms can interrupt the schedules, right? Permits can take time. Materials being delivered can get pushed back. Subcontractors can get delayed. Most builders' contracts address delays through their language that protects the builder when delays happen outside their control. That is not automatically unfair, right? But it's just reality. But buyers often end a lease too early. They sell their current home too soon. They schedule movers tightly. They order furniture for a date to be delivered. They plan around this one date instead of a realistic range, right? If you're selling your current home, ending a lease, moving kids, changing schools, or coordinating a closing, work out the backup plan before you sign, right? Not after. So here's the watch out, right? Ask the builder for a realistic timeline based on the current conditions and where they're at in their process, right? You don't want the best case scenario, right? Then plan around the longer end of that range. If it closes early, great. It's a good problem to have. If it does not, you're not scrambling. So just think about those things. So look, I don't work just in Livingston Parish. I work in the entire Greater Baton Rouge area. I've sold many of these model homes. I've walked through the process. I've sat across some builders' reps with buyers. I've looked at these contract packages, and I've seen what happens when buyers go through this process without someone in their corner who hasn't done it before. The buyers who come out of this new construction feeling good about what they've done is usually the ones who went in prepared, ones that had their own representation. So they had someone that reviewed the contract before they signed, they explained the timeline, they compared other lender options, they got the independent inspection, they understood the warranty process before they needed it. The buyers who came out frustrated after the fact almost always did the same thing. They didn't know what they didn't know. And everything I just covered in this video is something buyers usually wish someone would have told them before they signed. So right now, Livingston Parish new construction is very active. Builders are competing for buyers, of course. Incentives are being offered, rate buy downs, closing cost assistance, upgraded packages that can make a real difference if you understand how to evaluate them. But the buyers who win in this market are not just the ones who are closing the biggest incentive. They're the ones who understand the full deal. The price, the contract, the lender terms, the timeline, the inspection, the warranty, the subdivision, the location, the drainage around them, the commute, and of course the resale picture. So part 4 of this series is coming up next. We're going to compare new construction versus resale, specifically in Livingston Parish, and talk about which one may actually make more financial sense in your situation right now. So let's go ahead and close this out. Does it really make sense to walk into a brand new construction home, whether it's already built or it's still under construction, without someone on your side who understands the process? And maybe here's a better question. Would it be unreasonable to have an expert in your corner when it doesn't cost you anything out of your pocket? Remember that the builder pays the buyer's agent's commission. That means you can have your own representation without adding any cost to the deal. My role is different than the buyer's representative. I don't have a subdivision to sell you. I don't have a floor plan to push. I don't work for the builder. I have a process built to protect you as a buyer. We look at the lot, we look at the flood zone, we look at the drainage, we look at the contract, we look at the incentives, we look at the inspection, and of course, we look at the resale value. Because buying new construction is not about picking the house that just feels right? It's about knowing what you're agreeing to before you agree to it. So if you're the type of buyer who wants to slow down, ask the better questions, and make a smarter decision before you sign anything, call me before you walk into a single model home. That phone call could save you thousands, protect your leverage, and protect you from making mistakes along the way. My name is Brandon Browning. I'm with Keller Williams Realty Premier Partners. My number's on the screen. Please don't hesitate to call.